many creators believe to be true.
Okay, so first of all, I am watching this channel called VidIQ, VidIQ, and the title of it is YouTube launches new algorithm updates 2025. So I'm watching this, and I just started. I haven't seen it yet, so I'm gonna pour myself a hot beverage, and then I'm gonna watch it. Now first, I'm gonna make some predictions. I wonder if, so I've been following Gary Vaynerchuk, VaynerMedia, VaynerSports, VaynerX, all that stuff for a while. He says that the social media algorithms are now running on an interest graph. And what that means basically is that the artificial intelligence is going to be feeding you things that you train it to understand and calculate that you're interested in. And I'm very interested in that as a clinical hypnotist, because that means that it's running exactly like basically a glorified high-tech playlist software creation software. Or I could even say like this: it's running like a glorified high-tech self-hypnosis exercise creation software. Because IRL, in real life, as a clinical hypnotist, one of the things that I do is exactly that. I attempt to find ways to put in front of my clients' awareness as much different variations of the information that's going to help them to achieve the results they desire, right, on a continual basis, to get them to think about it more, for it to be in there, for them to be able to remember it in their working or procedural memory, by giving them recordings of the hypnosis session, by giving them additional recordings, by providing them with binaural beat recordings that I've made, by giving them literature to read, by recommending other videos to watch, by recommending different types of diets, whether that be social media diets, meaning not to cut it off, but to change what you're looking at. And this is the essence of it all. And so by curating carefully, consciously, and with awareness the things that you spend your time on, the artificial intelligence algorithm, that's the algorithms that are based off of this now primarily, will continue to feed you the things that you're interested in. And this is a way that you can basically create your own self-hypnosis exercise playlist. And as long as you prune it every once in a while and pull out the weeds and make sure you filter out the things that aren't beneficial for you, in the exact same way that I, as a clinical hypnotist, do with my clients, is teach them how to do that. And that is exactly what we need to just be doing in life in general. It's practicing good mental hygiene for our subconscious mind, is focusing on the things that we want and weeding out the things that we don't want. And when things that we don't want come in, learning from them in a way that we know, okay, this is just information coming in, and I don't need to make that part of my belief system that I then operate on to my detriment. So, with that said, I'm going to see what this VidIQ guy is saying and what he says about the algorithms and
one of the most
how close. So let's see.
We get from creators is this.
Oh, come on, this isn't fair. Why isn't the algorithm pushing my videos to more people?
Nice stereotyping there. But I do get why people may think the algorithm works like this, a rewards-based system based upon output of content. You post fresh content, the algorithm tests this out with audiences, and if they like it, YouTube's going to continue to share it with more audiences. However, according to a lovely chap called Todd Beaupre, you may have come across that name before here at VidIQ.
Okay, hold on now. That actually makes sense what he said, and I've actually heard that before from some other training. That basically you put out a piece of content, YouTube tests it before an audience, so sort of like a consensus, right? Like it's a test audience. What would you call that? I forgot. But it's so it basically puts it out in front of what is it? A sample audience, right? And then depending on how they like it, then it'll push it out to more. So I've heard that makes sense. Okay, all right.
Discovery at YouTube. This isn't really how the YouTube algorithm works.
The first thing that creators should understand is that the recommendation systems are really centered around each individual viewer. So oftentimes creators will say, hey, the recommendation system is pushing out my video to people.
Or why isn't it?
Yes, they may ask that. And the way it works is it isn't so much about pushing it out as much as it's pulling for each viewer. So when you open the homepage, YouTube is going to say, hey.
So this seems like what I suspected, what I'm talking about, the self-hypnosis exercise. If it's pulling it into the individual viewer, this means that it's interest graph, that it's going on your recommendations based on the things that you are selecting and that you're spending time on. And it's also what Gary Vaynerchuk has been saying. So let me rewind it a little bit, but I think that's what they're getting to. All right.
The way it works is it isn't so much about pushing it out as much as it's pulling for each viewer. So when you open the homepage, YouTube is going to say, hey, Renee's here. We need to give Renee the best content that is going to make Renee happy today. It's very much centered around each individual person and ranking the videos for them, as opposed to looking at each individual video and trying to figure out who might like it.
Try to think of it as automated word of mouth.
Now,
the system...
Yes, automated word. Yeah, he's saying try to think of it like automated word of mouth. I don't know if that's the best way to explain it, but I see where he's probably going with that, is because, yeah, that doesn't really vibe that much with me. Like, especially not what the gentleman just said, and now what he's saying is like automated word of mouth. No, it doesn't seem like that so much. But what I was going to comment on, and I just want to make this clear, that this is just what I am extrapolating from what I've noticed from using, not only extensively using AI and even creating a fundamentals of AI program that you can find on HakimAlexander.com, but also just from other extensive use and familiarity with it, and then just also being all over social media and being an observer of all things, and then also being a trained clinical hypnotist and metaphysical scientist, which those things are very interrelated to me. That's why I've founded what's known as the Institute of Metaphysical Hypnosis. It's kind of brand new, but one of the reasons, of course, to keep people on your specific platform, whatever platform that might be, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, what else do we got out there? What else do I use? X, of course, and LinkedIn, right? Is because one of the main things is because of ad revenue. Because if you're happy, right, like the other previous gentleman just mentioned, if you're happy on that platform, right? Here's the thing. What's interesting from a perspective of a clinical hypnotist, you're more likely to be susceptible to a new piece of information, meaning your critical filter is going to be less on defense of filtering things out if you are more satisfied, if you are more comfortable. So if you are being fed information constantly that's according to your interest, and you're being kept happy when an advertisement comes on, especially if it is an advertisement related to the thing that you're continually being fed information on, you're more likely to sit through it and more likely to consume that, and then even more likely then again, hopefully, according to what the advertisers want, to proceed to respond to their call to action, whatever that may be, to click on it, sign up with your email, buy something, right? Join the program. That's the main purpose of it. And so people want to be conspiracy theorists and say that it's following me all around. Well, in a way, there's pixels and cookies and all that, but the main purpose is to match you up as closely as possible with the things that you're interested in, so it can present you those things, because it's really just squeezing down to find their ideal avatar, their real target customer, instead of trying to shotgun blast it out. The algorithms are becoming more intelligent that way and really focusing in on people and showing them exactly what they want, keeping them happy so that they're more likely to buy, period. And from a clinical hypnosis standpoint, it's the same thing. One of the things we do when we're when we're delivering suggestions to help to change a behavior by changing the belief system, one of the things we do is we start with a systematic desensitization by slowly starting with things that are more familiar to them, and then that kind of morphing and transforming into the new suggestion. It's a way to kind of sneak it in. And there's all kinds of other nerdy stuff that I could get into about that, like medication vectors being wrapped in essential fatty acids to bypass the blood-brain barrier, but I'm not going to right now because I want to listen to the rest of this video.
What similar viewers enjoy and recommends based off of that. It is never trying to just randomly push content out to viewers. Instead, because this is viewer-centric, it is pulling in content that the specific viewer is likely to want to watch. Now, if you'll allow me to indulge myself for just one moment, imagine YouTube is like
I've always wondered about these shots. In this
consumer.
video, when you decide to watch the video, like, who puts cameras inside a refrigerator? That's all I'm saying.
This fridge, but you know what? I'm not interested in this. I don't think I'm really interested in these either. And I'll tell you what I am definitely not interested in is any of this.
Is that dog food or baby food?
What I am really, really interested in are these. And over
That's
time,
hilarious.
YouTube will know that when I come to this proverbial fridge, it's going to recommend more of this. It's actually not edible.
No.
I would like to earn an extra $5,000 to $10,000 a month part-time while still working a full-time job.
That sounds fantastic, but I'm not going to listen to you.
What that means for you is that instead of trying to get YouTube to just push your videos out to more and more people, you want to focus on making content for that ideal viewer that can't resist watching.
Ideal
because
avatar,
when YouTube
right?
finds someone who is your perfect viewer, it will pull your video right to their homepage.
So I guess
And
I don't
then-
have any
and
perfect
This is a
viewers.
really critical part of the entire operation. If they enjoy that video, then it's going to be pulled to the homepage of more and more similar viewers. Hi everyone, I'm very similar to that previous fridge consumer, only that I'm wearing slightly different glasses and a different t-shirt, but yeah, I love trying to eat these and failing. But it also means that because the YouTube fridge knows this about me, you can recommend these and also these. And oh wow, this looks really non-edible.
It's got all these Bluetooth, these YouTube icons.
Is this metaphor making any sense?
That are now
here's the
different
thing.
colors.
Even if you do understand whether or not YouTube pulls videos rather than pushes videos to viewers, a lot of creators get really hung up on this next thing when they're trying to understand the YouTube algorithm. And it's all about this, if you know what this is. Think about how you currently analyze the performance of your videos on your channel. Right now, when you post a video, you probably obsess over your average view duration and click-through rate. Probably both, convinced that hitting certain numbers will make your videos perform better. You might even spend hours comparing your metrics with other channels, and if you don't hit a 10% click-through rate or 5-minute average view duration, then you freak out and think your videos are going to flop.
You
now,
know,
none of this is to
something interesting about that is that there was a time when one of my I still use it, so my podcasting software that I use on Spreaker, and you can find my podcast if you want. You can type in my name, Hakeem Ali Bokus Alexander, which might be on my channel somewhere, or the name of my channel, which is Uniquilibrium, which is a combination of the word unique and equilibrium. If you type in Uniquilibrium on Spreaker, that's Spreaker. Maybe I'll put all that. Excuse me, that's coffee. Maybe I'll put it in the show notes, the description of this video here for you to follow. Actually, that's probably a good idea. But you can see that I have podcasts there. But what's interesting, what I was going to say is that I've never obsessed with the analytics on YouTube. One thing is because I've never prioritized it. The only thing I've ever prioritized was looking at when I activated the ad sharing feature on my Spreaker podcast. Then I started to pay attention to how many of my monetized podcasts were being listened to and looking at the payments that were related to that and seeing how they matched up. And interestingly enough, meanwhile on YouTube, I have very, very little views across all of my videos, except for one that was a long time ago, where I was out in California and I saw these two Scientology guards accosting this woman who people claim she was mentally ill, and maybe she was. And I was just standing with a camera. I didn't want to intervene because it can cause all kinds of problems, but I kept on saying over and over again, "Where's the police, guys? Did you call the police? Where's the police, guys?" And just being generally obnoxious. And it got like 30,000 views in the first week, which is not a lot compared to what some people get, but it was my highest viewed video because just people at the time were really interested in the shenanigans of the Church of Scientology. And maybe still are, but my point about that is that I don't get very many views on my YouTube videos, even though that's actually starting to change because of certain things that I'm doing. However, I have over 250,000 downloads. That's not including the streams of my podcast. So, and I emphasize downloads because my niece, who just turned 18 years old, she, one time when I said, "Hey, you should download my podcast," and she says, "Download? I stream." So I guess, you know, her generation, they're more into streaming instead of putting stuff on their devices. So, let's see.
Shamed on. This is completely normal YouTuber behavior. This is how we analyze our videos, by obsessing over graphs like this. Is it going down? But what if I told you the performance of your video isn't just determined by the metrics you see in your YouTube studio?
So a lot of creators, they look at their analytics and they're very focused on the aggregate performance because that's the easiest thing that we can kind of present. But the way the system's working is actually, it's not just using that average view duration or that average click-through rate. It's using the performance data as input, but ultimately trying to understand and predict for each viewer. It's kind of similar to how recommendations work outside of recommendation systems. The system is able to understand what other viewers like you have watched.
Viewers like you.
And then based on understanding what they enjoyed and what they didn't, it can help when it's time to give recommendations to you.
So what Todd is saying here is that when you upload a video to YouTube, it isn't just looking at your overall metrics. It's also looking at how different groups of viewers respond to your content and which types of viewers love your videos. This means that for YouTube as a whole, there is no magic number to optimize for. Watch time matters more for TV viewing and podcasts, while likes are more important for music. The algorithm simply adapts to what it cares about based on what you're watching, where, and
Hold
when.
on, let's see
This
that.
is why a
That
video
seems
with
like that's
TV viewing
important.
and
Hold on.
podcast onto your content and which types. So what Todd is saying here is that when you upload a video to YouTube, it isn't just looking at your overall metrics. It's also looking at how different groups of viewers respond to your content and which types of viewers love your videos. This means that for YouTube as a whole, there is no magic number to optimize for. Watch time matters more for TV viewing and podcasts, while likes are more important for music. The algorithm simply adapts to what it cares about based on what you're watching, where, and when. This is why a video with, let's say, 3% click-through rate and bad retention might get thousands of views, while a video with over 7% click-through rate and bad retention metrics struggles to hit 500 views.
Yeah.
It's not just about how good your metrics are on any given
That's
video.
mine. That's exactly what I was talking about. That's my videos. My videos, actually, they have a higher, probably a much higher click-through rate than 7%, because in the Spreaker videos before, when I would post them, because Spreaker would automatically post it to YouTube for me with just like one still image and then the audio in the background, and the first thing it would say would, at the top of the video's description, you would see source, and then it would have the link that went directly to the Spreaker podcast. Now, unfortunately, it doesn't do that anymore, and if I want any of my podcast on YouTube, I have to manually make a video for that and upload it. Yes, so I've had a much higher click-through rate than my views. A crazy click-through rate. It's almost like people just expected, as soon as they saw that yellow and white graphic that was the still image from Spreaker, that they knew automatically, like, you know, we're not even going to watch this, let's just go straight to the podcast. And so that was interesting. Which gives me an idea. I was off cue.
But how strongly your videos connect with specific viewers. So the key here is to not focus so much on viewer metrics that are being spat out by the YouTube studio, and instead concentrate on your core audience and the type of videos they're going to fall in love with when you publish them on your channel. That way, you've got a much better chance of having those, let's call them sweet viral moments. Now that can be a tricky concept to come to terms with, that the numbers YouTube are throwing at you aren't always that important. But when you start to understand what Todd is going to talk about next when it comes to the algorithm, particularly in terms of watch time, it may completely change the way you think about all of this. You see, there's a common belief on the YouTube platform that more watch time means better performance of videos.
No.
But if you can keep people watching for longer on your videos, it keeps people on the YouTube platform serving more ads. Everybody wins, right? Seems logical, doesn't it?
Oh, because I did say that earlier. I actually said that earlier.
As an example, it has
in part.
More ads, everybody wins, right? Seems logical, doesn't it? But there's actually a lot more to it than that. Take this video as an example. It has a watch time of nearly 8 minutes, which is well above the VidIQ channel average, but flatlining views. Whereas this video, with less than a third of the average view duration compared to the previous video, and a tiny click-through rate, has stormed through 4 million views.
For quite a few years now, we've learned that not all time spent with video is equally valued by our viewers. We get feedback that viewers want some videos to be a lot more efficient in getting to the point and the value that they get from them. And so while we do look at how long people watch videos, it's only one of the factors that we consider when understanding the value people are getting.
So is Todd saying here that the YouTube algorithm doesn't value watch time? No, it's not quite as simple as that. But what he's trying to say is that the algorithm or YouTube recommendation systems value other things as well, such as satisfaction over pure raw engagement of a video. Some videos, for example, deliver more value to the viewer in 5 minutes than another video does to somebody in 20 minutes. And that's what the recommendation system is really good at measuring. Basically, the algorithm can tell when a creator is actually being really efficient with their viewers, and it can do it through signals such as likes, surveys.
Interesting, because this is not exactly like, but similar to what Gary Vaynerchuk talked about, whereas all across the platforms, that within the first 3 seconds or something like that, you better pop off to your viewers, which is why if you look at Gary Vaynerchuk's videos, he'll have some in the beginning of his YouTube videos and on other channels. There's sort of like a little bit of a preview of some of the highlights from the video and some of the stuff that he says that really pops, that when you listen to it, you're like, oh my gosh. And like, it makes you want to listen to the whole thing, because you're like, yo, if this gold nugget is coming out in this like little preview here, then there must be some stuff going on in that video. So, because he does put those gold nuggets like right at the beginning of the, like stuff that when you hear it, like you could listen to that and then move on. Like, he's done a really good job of doing that. And yes, I am a huge fan of Gary Vaynerchuk and have been for a long time, and I've been learning a lot. It's incredible.
Have you ever watched part of a YouTube video? You've not got all of the way through it. Let's say it's an hour-long video, but what you've watched, you've really enjoyed, but you need to go away and do something else. And then the following day, you come back to YouTube to finish watching that video. Is that a good signal or a bad signal?
That seems like a good signal.
Convince you to come back to YouTube, so what do you think? But how do you measure that from just pure watch time in a single viewing session, if that's all you're going to think about? So I would encourage you to stop worrying about watch time and stretching out those videos as long as possible, and instead focus on maximizing the value that you're delivering to your viewers, whether the video is 5 minutes or 50 minutes long. And finally, I have saved the best till last, and I'm not talking about algorithm hacks, but my amazing Star Trek collection.
What the hell? That is an amazing Star Trek collection.
I've just alienated my entire audience there, haven't I? I've always considered YouTube's AI systems to be
bother
incredibly
me none.
advanced, years before it was a fashionable topic to talk about. And they haven't been sitting still either.
So for those of you who have played around with Gemini or ChatGPT or some of these other chatbots, the technology behind them is a large language model. We've applied the large language model technology to recommendations at YouTube because the models are larger, and what that enables them to do is develop a deeper, more nuanced understanding of content, rather than just kind of like understanding like, oh, this video is about Indian cooking. It might actually be able to understand the ingredients of the dish better, and maybe some more elements of the video style, and how it's presented, or the emotions that the creator might be conveying.
So what this basically means is that the YouTube AI can understand your video on 3 different levels. First, we have the topic level. YouTube doesn't just look at your video as if it is a cooking video. It will take into account that it is a cooking video for beginners with an upbeat style of content for people who love spicy food. The YouTube AI can also analyze a video at a presentation level. For example, it will try and match up your style of delivery and emotion versus the viewer's expectations and their level of engagement. Finally, the video can be analyzed at a production level. So we're looking at the editing style and how you structure your video and how that will connect with potential viewers. This means that you need to start understanding what your target audience likes on these 3 different levels.
That's crazy. See,
when you're able to do that,
my
your
problem.
videos have a better chance of being pulled to the audiences that you desire. However, this is all much easier said than done when you're missing one critical component.
And what's that?
And that's when you don't know who your target audience is, that ideal viewer that we've mentioned a couple of times in this video. Knowing exactly who is watching your videos and why, their dreams, their goals, their fears, their pain points, their obstacles. It all feeds back into knowing exactly how to speak to that viewer, so that you can maximize the value you're delivering to them.
This is my issue, because even though I could spend the time and figure that out, like, who wants to know how to basically be a ninja? Like, you know, learning martial arts and physical fitness and hypnosis, you know, and metaphysical sciences and freaking heavy metal, like, and some crazy combination of that also with like looking at how it pertains to business and success in life. Like, I don't know who the hell that is for. I don't know anybody like me. It's so crazy. And so therefore and plus I don't, you know, the time to do that stuff, it takes so much longer to do, to be able to figure it out, and then to tailor that to those people. I'm gonna start giving it a shot, because, you know, as the saying goes, don't knock it till you try it. I just don't. Well, I'm not gonna make any excuses. I'm just gonna figure it out. So I mean, I've got to figure that out. So
reaches its peak, and it's back into knowing exactly how to speak to that viewer, so that you can maximize the value you're delivering to them. That's where viewer satisfaction reaches its peak, and it just so happens we made a video on this topic of how to create the ideal viewer, along with a free worksheet which is really valuable. So why don't you go and check out this video right now while I enjoy another swift drink.
Okay. Well, that was pretty
it's
informative.
Like ASMR, isn't it?
I liked it, and so that was gross. So what I'm going to do, I don't want to know. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the link to that video in the description, as well as a link to my podcasts in the description, and then finally I'm going to put a link to my sponsor, which comes from my website blogdealer.com, and there's actually, I'm gonna use the YouTube training video that on there that I will admit have applied almost nothing from that course, but people, and for the reason that I just said, right? There's a lot of stuff that I know that I don't do, just because One of the things that you'll learn about content creation is that you have to do it according to what's comfortable for you. Of course, you've got to, you know, if there's certain things that you want to attain and things that you want to accomplish, and you got to know what that is, then you have to kind of, well, not have to, kind of, but it's probably imperative that you step out of your familiarity zone and do those extra things that are going to get you those kind of results. So I guess I'm saying, do as I say, not as I do, or at least not as I say, but the course that I'm going to put as my sponsor to this unedited video.